It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, gang, welcome into episode number 118 of the Border War. I am the TanMan. That is BG reliving a previous episode in a previous life where
I'm being the ceiling fan.
A large ceiling fan took over the episode. Anyway, welcome in again. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at the Border War. Our Twitter numbers spiking up.
Yeah, man.
You can like and share our page on Facebook as well. BG, did you come to work today? Did you go to work today?
I'm still there.
I saw somewhere yesterday where they were expecting something like 11 million people to be out of work today.
A week before Memorial Day?
Because of the show, the Game of Thrones. 11 million people were going to stay home today.
But, I mean, it's not on that late. I don't get that.
I don't know. I'm just glad you're here. Glad you weren't one of those.
I don't watch that, right?
I
don't have HBO. I read the first 4 books, but
yeah, but still though, you figure all those 11 million people, not all of them watched the show. Some of them just probably took advantage and laid out of work.
I'm fine with that. I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't really have a strong opinion about that one way or the other.
Really?
No, I mean not really. I've moved past the point where the franchises of my childhood that have, been handled in different ways as they've grown older than I would have. Some people get really upset about that stuff.
Well,
not me.
I hear the ending wasn't that good, and I always go back to it can't possibly be worse than How I Met Your Mother or Dawson's Creek ending. Both of those shows, the way they ended.
The thing about Game of Thrones that's different from How I Met Your Mother is, How I Met Your Mother, you've got, 6 primary characters, right?
Something like that.
Okay. It's not overly convoluted. There wasn't really even an overplot other than How I Met Your Mother, right? So,
and
then
they killed her
that was really odd. I still think, what I was going to say is the Game of Thrones, I mean, from the first 4 books that I read and what little bit I know about what's happened since then on the show, and there's a lot of different plot lines going on. There is no way to manage it all perfectly, and let's be honest, if you have it all come to a nice, neat little package at the end, right, chances are you did some really forced things to make it happen. The one show that I think should have ended way differently was Seinfeld. Because what I would have done is I would have the one thing I liked about it was how they ended up talking about the same thing the show started with. But I wouldn't have had any of that other stuff happen. I would have just had it be a normal episode. I think that would have really made a strong statement. Because in the world of Seinfeld, and what I would have had happen just the last 2 or 3 minutes is I would have let the conversation slowly start to morph into the way the show started, and I would have had it end with this awkward silence as they all sort of just look at each other with this realization of there's nothing else to talk about.
I see what you're saying, but I like the way that they brought all the old characters, like bringing the soup Nazi back and. The prosecutor asked him, "Can you spell that?" He goes, "No, next question."
Well, I think there would have been a way to have some of those characters maybe show up throughout the episode. I don't know.
I was going to say, it wasn't the greatest, but I thought it was
think the
funny.
problem with it is they fell for the bait of trying to make it seem like the last episode.
Right.
And there was never any... That's the whole point of Seinfeld.
There was nothing.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway... glad you can join us, BG. We got a few emails. I don't know why I would respond to the emails. I don't know why we haven't been reading the emails on the air.
Well, most of the time, there's a lot of cursing and complaining in the emails.
That does happen on occasion, but we got a couple we're going to read out this week. Ty S. from Buffalo, South Carolina, some of your old stomping grounds.
That's not true at all.
Pretty close.
I worked down there, not stomping grounds.
Stomping grounds.
I do enjoy Midway Barbecue, though.
Not
a sponsor of the show, but they should be.
Ty S. in Buffalo says, BG and TanMan are a breath of fresh sports talking air when my ears are bleeding from the screaming local troll I'll just pick an old episode of the Border War and enjoy. Keep up the good work, guys.
That's nice.
Ty S is a big fan. We got another one. How about this one? Charlie from Slidell, Louisiana. Charlie checks in.
From where?
Slidell, Louisiana.
Where is that?
About an hour outside of New Orleans. Guys, how
That's
about
a cool name, Slidell?
How about my Pelicans? I hear there's a guy from around your neck of the woods who might be heading down to the Big Easy. Charlie asks, is he any good? And he says, just kidding. Next time you guys are down around this way, the gumbo is on me. P.S. The Blazers over Golden State. Come on, TanMan. LOL. I mean, Charlie taking a shot at my Blazers pick that is not working out so well.
Just to answer his question, I mean, I think R.J. Barrett's going to have a better NBA career than his college career.
But we're quite a ways away from Canada.
Most of the mock drafts have Barrett going 1 overall, right?
Is that not right? Incorrect. The NBA draft lottery was last week. In case you missed it, the New Orleans Pelicans come with an 8% chance to win the number 1 pick.
Did you get any emails asking whether or not you still believe the whole thing was rigged there, TanMan? Did you get any of those? Because I would have sent you one.
There were a few in there talking about that, but I'm going to say this, BG. I still think it's rigged.
Oh, my word.
Listen to here's
so they're trying to make it seem like it's not rigged, so they did the opposite of what you'd expect?
No. I told someone this morning. This is the reason why I'm here and they're there. They are way smarter than I am. They took New Orleans, who's got the single biggest trade chip in the league right now, right?
Well, yeah.
All right, and now what's the argument anytime a player like Anthony Davis decides he wants out of a small market, he wants to go to a bigger market, the small market teams all jump up and wave their hands. We can't keep our players. Now they give New Orleans.
So Memphis too, though? Memphis is in on this whole plan too. I mean, Memphis was. I mean, I'm just
look. You got to put somebody in too. But what they did was they gave New Orleans a replacement. Okay, you're going to lose Anthony Davis. We're going to give you Zion Williamson. But then here's the genius of it. They put New York and L.A., the 2 biggest media markets in the league, at 3 and 4, just high enough to entice the Pelicans to move Davis while letting them retain a superstar to build around. Genius.
It must be
genius.
Exhausting being you.
It is, man.
I can't imagine.
This could not have worked out better for the NBA, man. This could not have worked out better for the NBA.
I disagree so much. Because he's not. Look, the only way that it works out is if somehow, I don't know how long are NBA rookie contracts? What are they? 4 years.
4 years, and then they'll get to they'll be able to. He'll be a restricted free agent. So you basically get about 7 years.
It's like I tweeted right after it happened, or I guess it was the next morning. I think it's like you've got a couple of exceptions. I would love to spend some time, maybe this summer, talking about how. Let's take Milwaukee for example. Mm-hmm. Okay, how Milwaukee's managed to build a team around one good draft pick, and it's a small market. Milwaukee, I don't know. Milwaukee might be the smallest market.
I don't know. We'd have to look
in the NBA. I don't know. Maybe Sacramento's smaller, but I mean they're down there.
Yeah,
Milwaukee's I've been there, man. It's not big. It's not as big as Charlotte, or at least just its general appearance. So aside from the Bucks, I mean you don't see a lot of teams in those markets holding on to those players, and so I just feel like the safe money is on Zion leaving New Orleans after however many years it is, and that in the meantime, he's great, but they never will be. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna increase parity in the league, which is what the league desperately needs.
Well, they can only do so much. You can't have everybody in the league.
And you're saying one of the things they can do is weight the ping pong balls.
You can't have everybody in the league.
Well, nobody sees it anyway, right?
Right, yeah. Be New York and L.A. If you want to be a viable league, and we've talked about this before, you have to have some of these smaller market teams be good. I mean, you just have to.
Yeah.
All right? You send Zion Williamson down to New Orleans. It's a small market. Let's play devil's advocate and say, because you can't really find a comparison for him. There's not really anybody that they can go back. He's kind of blazing a new path. Let's say he never improves his jump shot, and he's a highlight reel. He's a dunker, but he's not the game-changing, franchise-changing player that everyone is projecting him to be. Would you rather him not live up to expectations in a place like New Orleans or New York?
I mean, I get what you're saying.
I'd rather him not live right. They'd rather him not live up to expectations in New Orleans. Now, if he turns out that he is everything that everybody thinks he's going to be, now New Orleans is in the driver's seat. Now they're in business.
I still think there's a giant monkey wrench that's potentially out here for this whole thing, and that is that every single time that we talk about, all three of the major sports, but in this particular case, the NBA, when we talk about contracts coming up, we just keep making these assumptions that NBA TV money is going to keep going up and up and up, and I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. I think that the NBA has worked itself into a situation where they've made their sport not must-watch. There are plenty of people that keep up with it. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people that follow the highlights. There are plenty of people that follow the, quote, storylines. But not the thing itself.
Not the actual
Not the
game.
Basketball. We don't even talk about the basketball. This show here, one of the few shows I know of that I can access where we actually talk the back and forth of the games. Not just, kind of this overplot of what happened over the past 10 games, and oh, by the way, where do you think LeBron's going next season, or whoever the big free agent is. And, I mean, it's made the interest in the league high, but I don't think the TV numbers are there because people are not really watching the games. They don't feel like they have to.
Wow.
And so if that's the case, and what the equivalent of the NBA salary cap drops, then, of course, the teams that benefit are the ones who have massive markets that can pay that luxury tax and just ignore the salary cap.
Right.
And I think that's a likely scenario.
I'd like to go back and see how many times in sports history a salary cap has dropped. I think that's one of those things that once the genie kind of comes in the bottle, you're not shoving it back in.
Well, the salary cap era is only 30 or so years old, and so you're talking about TV contracts inside of that. You're only really talking about a sample size of 5 or 6 times that it's come up.
I disagree. I think the salary cap's not going anywhere. It's not going. If anything, it'll go back up. It'll go up more.
Well, I mean, the flip side of that, though, is that then you're going to have money not be a consideration for most of your big name, free agents, and they're going to go play where they think they can win because they're going to get paid everywhere.
But we're kind of at that. We're kind of at that spot now.
Sure.
All the money, the money everywhere, other than where you are. Everywhere else in the NBA, the money's going to be the same.
Yeah, we've talked about this. I mean, I think in the 90s, the market mattered. Guys wanted to play for the Knicks because they could market themselves. They could get big-name shoe deals and whatnot. I don't think it matters anymore.
I don't think it matters. I think if you can
play, you
can be a star. You can be a star anywhere. I think Anthony Davis just wants out. He wants out of New Orleans because, I guess only he would know. I mean, I don't think it's got anything to do with, I can't win here.
I think he thinks that, my guess, the logical thing would that he thinks it's a poorly run organization that isn't really trying to surround him with talent and that there's no future there.
They tried. They traded for DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, they did.
Listen, a little over 365 days ago, this team, New Orleans, was sending the Trailblazers home in a sweep in the first round last year. All right, and Portland's in the Western Conference Finals right now. If he wants out of New Orleans, it's not basketball; it's for other stuff, and that's fine. If that's what you want, that's fine.
I just feel like you start thinking that top clock starts to tick on some of these guys. They want a ring.
There was some talk about whether or not landing Zion would be enough to keep Anthony Davis in New Orleans, and so far it seems like the answer to that is no. It sounds like he's still sticking to his guns that he wants out of the Big Easy. So, BG, we're opening day next season in the NBA. all the trade possibilities out there. And over the next month, I think we're going to see a good many of them. Is Anthony Davis involved in one of them, and where is he when the ball gets thrown up next season?
Man, I honestly don't have a clue because, I mean, if you'd asked me before last season started, I'd have said the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The thing is that, yeah, Los Angeles might be a worse situation than a Pelicans team with Zion. He's only got 1 year left to play on his contract. Am I right?
Right.
So wherever he goes, he's going to basically become a free. So I think we need to think about teams that have a need for a big guy down low, and that could win in a year with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe the Celtics.
Well, see, I think there's. If you keep the Pelicans in play, I think there's two logical choices, and they're not going to come as a surprise to you. I think they're New York and L.A. I think you take those. I just mentioned at the start of the show, you've got the third pick and the fourth pick, which is a jumping-off point. The Knicks have the Mavericks pick next year in next year's draft. That's going to be another lottery pick. So it is a package involving two lottery picks, enough to maybe Kevin Knox. Is that going to be enough to send Anthony Davis to New York? There's talk that Chicago's in the market for a point guard. One of the point guards they say they're targeting is Lonzo Ball from L.A. I'm sure that would bring the 7th pick from the Bulls into play for the Lakers. So is 4 and 7 enough for the Lakers to land Anthony Davis? To where the Pelicans pick 1, 4, and 7? That might do it.
Sure, yeah.
That might do it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean,
this is a different front office in New Orleans than the one that told the Lakers to go pound sand back in February.
That's a good point.
So I think
I've heard a lot of people talking about this that don't bring that up, and that's everything.
Yep.
You're not arguing with a logo.
No.
Yeah,
this is a different front office. But I'm also interested to see whether or not there's someone kind of like Toronto did with Kawhi Leonard that feels like they're right on that cusp.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Of making a championship run and is willing to roll the dice on renting Anthony Davis for a year.
Problem with Boston is that it's going to be without Kyrie most likely. So if you're Anthony Davis, you have no idea what that's going to look like.
Well, if Boston loses Kyrie Irving, I don't see any reason why you would trade for Anthony Davis. Because to get Anthony Davis, you're going to have to send Jason Tatum down. And so if you send Tatum down, you rent AD for a year, and then he bolts.
I'm not thinking basketball fit so much as I'm just thinking teams. How about the Nuggets?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
It feels weird to even say that, though. Anthony Davis to the Nuggets. I haven't heard anybody else say that.
I'm interested, like I said, I'm interested to see if there's somebody out there willing to take the swing.
You think about what they need in the locker room, a little leadership, as young as that team is. I mean, from a basketball standpoint. But see, that's where we get into this stuff. And I don't think every team has an equal crack at him, even the teams that are really good.
Yeah.
I think you're right, man. I think it's just L.A. and New York, and it's really who is going to put together a better trade package to set that next draft up.
I'm gonna say it's New York, and the reason is this: at the draft lottery, after New Orleans' name popped up at 1, they talked to Zion. He's like, "Yeah, I've never been." Yeah, you could tell, he'd spent 4 months picturing himself in New York playing for the Knicks. I think at the end of the day, he was going to wind up in New Orleans anyway. I think the Knicks were going to deal him, but that's a different story. You want to make him as comfortable as you can, right?
Sure.
You want to make him as comfortable as you can in New Orleans. Trade him to New York. Trade Anthony Davis to New York. Bring back the 3rd pick, and who are you taking at 3? Taking his best friend, R.J. Barrett. Teammates at Duke, those two became thick as thieves up there this past year. They loved playing together, despite what we all think it kind of looked like on the court at times.
No, I think they complement each other very well.
I think you bring Barrett to New Orleans and you let RJ and Zion team up down in the Big Easy, and there you go. You start the rebuild right there with those two.
Well, we've said it on the show now, though, so there's almost zero chance that's going to happen.
No, so he's almost certainly going to wind up someplace like Miami or Minnesota or something like that.
But we are just completely.
But yeah, that's my take.
We're discounting the idea completely that AD stays in New Orleans for another season.
I don't think there's any way they can take him into
even
next
with just
season.
that 1 year left on the contract.
No, man, that was such a disaster.
Is he not at all curious though?
Like he's wearing a shirt to the last game going, that's all, folks. Like, he is done there, man. He cannot come back.
So it's not so much a slide on Zion as it's just he was done before the draft pick.
Yeah, I think he's just ready
There's
to
no
go.
part of him at
He's
all.
just ready
Though.
to
If
go.
you're him, there's no part of you that's thinking, what if this guy's really all world?
There might be, but I think there's also a part of him that goes, man, I made such a jackhole of myself the last couple months. Like, I can't show my face here again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I know, yeah, and I think you're on to something.
Once you dig your feet in the sand and draw the line in the sand and say, this is it, this is what I want, nothing you can do is going to talk me into staying. Like, I don't think you can walk that back just because of a draft pick. So New Orleans, send him to New York, bring RJ down there, start the rebuild, man. That's what I would do. Anyway, mock drafts are out. Like I said, the NBA draft is about a month away. You got some Tar Heels that are going to be in it. BG, which one have you got pulled up?
I've got CBS,
All right, so
which, speaking of Tar Heels, I think they have Kobe going to the Bulls at 7. One of those teams that I think does move the needle. You talk about the Knicks, though, and it's just, how long has it been? How long has it been since, I think I saw, has it been 20 years ago? No. Yeah, 20 years ago today that Scottie Pippen dunked over the top of Patrick Ewing and walked him down the court. It's been a while since
20 years since the Knicks were in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and that's what I think that's when it was, because it would have been the late 90s. So, I guess 99. The Bulls had a little flash in the pan there with Derrick Rose, and I always remind people of that when people want to trash Derrick Rose, that you need to go back and watch some film of him before his first injury.
Yeah.
That cat was some serious ball skill in Chicago.
Man.
But, again, so, I mean, how do you like the idea of Kobe going to the Bulls?
I like it. I like it.
He's going to go somewhere bad. I mean, we know that.
Somewhere bad. He was at the Combine this past week, and they said he interviewed with a handful of teams, and then he left early. So it's kind of lend itself to some speculation that he may have a guarantee somewhere towards the top of that first round. You're seeing Kobe White come in anywhere from, I've seen him as high as 5. The NBA Draft.net's got him 5 going to Cleveland. I think you can find Kobe White all the way down going to 8 to Atlanta, and some of them I've seen. You've got Nasir Little.
Well, I was about to bring him up, and I've had this talk with about 8 people in the past 2 weeks, and I keep telling people, I'm like, when it's all said and done, of all these kids, 10 years from now, this is going to be the one everybody's talking about.
I think, you're seeing Nasir Little come in anywhere from that 11. I think it seemed like I've seen him as low as 19 to San Antonio. And
I've got him going 16 to the Magic, CBS here.
Right there in that window, you're going to get a steal in that kid.
Oh, no question, man. This kid is a physical freak. And it doesn't matter what happened at North Carolina. Like you said, he never really seemed to be there anyway.
Well, he kind of said that this past week in some of the interviews that, some of it got blown out of proportion about when he's talking about his role wasn't clearly defined, and they kind of tried to push that off on poor coaching. I think it was just a combination of...
Well, if you can get him and you can commit him, you're going to take him.
Yeah.
But he didn't fit well with what ended up being a Kobe White-led offense.
And that was the thing. I think they kind of gave Kobe the green light, and Nasir just was kind of out there. You could tell he was thinking too much.
Oh, sure.
That was the biggest problem with him. I know he can.
He's going to grow into that frame, though.
Oh, my goodness. I've seen him shoot the ball well. That was a problem at Carolina this past year. But I've seen him shoot the ball. Like, I know he could do all the things that everybody expected him to do, and the last month or so of the season at Carolina, he was a different player. Those first 2 tournament games where he was averaging like 20 points a game almost. He was the best player on the team.
Yeah.
That's Nasir Little. We just didn't get to see it enough. So when you get that guy somewhere in the middle of the first round, back half of the lottery, a huge win. And the other guy from Carolina that's going to go in the first round, Cameron Johnson, his name is popping up a lot toward the end of the first round. A young man who dealt with a lot of injuries. His first year in Chapel Hill, he had the offseason surgery, came back. Probably the best three-point shooter, if not one of the best, if not the best three-point shooter in the ACC last year. That guy's going to come in right in as a man who can give you some points off the bench. Maybe a little minus defensively right now, but maybe that comes along. But getting Cam Johnson at the end of the first round is a massive steal, in my opinion.
What are we thinking about the Charlotte Hornets in this draft?
Well, some of the names I've seen for the Hornets, not really moving the needle.
No.
Not really moving the needle.
I was about to say, the one I see over here, I can't pronounce because he's French. I haven't heard of him.
You want to take a shot?
Well, I mean, it's
Sekou Doumbouya.
Doumbouya? Okay, yeah.
See, I saw one that
6'9", small forward.
Yeah, I saw one that had Goga. I think his last name is pronounced Batadze. A big man from the Republic of Georgia. I see Bruno Fernando from Maryland. I mean, I see names that don't. You're looking down the barrel of losing Kemba Walker, losing the star that you've had in your franchise, and to me, replacing him with an international prospect that's not going to be Luka Doncic, not going to be on that level. You're going to replace.
Well, I had heard of him.
Right. You're going to replace him with a guy from overseas that's going to be a project? No. Terrible idea, man. Terrible idea.
I come back to the. I can't get the words out of my mouth. I come back to the moment last week when we had Jonathan on the show, and he said that, other than maybe the Lakers, the Hornets were the worst run organization in the NBA, and that really hit home. I started thinking about it, but I mean, again, what's your counterpoint to that?
What?
I mean, that they're the worst. Yeah. What can you throw at somebody?
I would say that.
But this isn't that organization.
I would say that this is a different front office than the one that handed out the cement block necklace of contracts that they have between Kid Gilchrist and Nick Batum and Cody Zeller.
But is this just an effort though on the front office to nobody wanted Manu Ginobili either. I saw an interview with.
But you're also drafting Manu Ginobili at the end of the first round.
You're right.
You're not drafting him. The 12th.
But was he a good enough pick to be at the beginning of the first round?
Well, in hindsight's 2020. Well, yeah. If the guy's gonna be up for 20 years, but what I'm saying is, international prospects in general don't usually. I mean, even at this point last year, there were some people talking about Luka Doncic that were just like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
But his film was insane.
Yeah, but as far as fans go, Kristaps Porzingis is another example.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of this. I'll raise my hand on it. His name. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm like these international guys. They don't. You don't get to see them, so they don't. You don't get to watch them. You don't. Get to look at their game and see how they. You see grainy footage from YouTube that you may or may not be able to tell who the guy really is half the time.
Right.
And as fans, I just don't think that that's anything that's going to excite a fan base that desperately needs exciting. Some of these other mock drafts, SI has got him taking Kevin Porter, the shooting guard from Southern Cal. He's a kid who I've seen play a few times on TV. You read the things about him. He's got all the tools, but does he? He's one of these kids. Does he actually want to play basketball? Kind of things. We don't know. One name I've heard a lot.
If he's not sure about that, Charlotte's not where he wants to
be. You see P.J. Washington from Kentucky. This could be an interesting one. He's kind of a stretch four. He went from shooting about 23 or 24% from three as a freshman up to 42 last year. He took a few more of them. That could be an interesting pick there. Rui Hachimura from Gonzaga, a guy who's really only been playing basketball for a couple years now, but showed great potential. If you see, I don't know how many Gonzaga games that folks on the East Coast actually got to stay up and see.
I know where you're going next. I'm going to agree with you, but go ahead.
But what is it? It's NBA.com has put out kind of a compilation of mock drafts, and they landed at Nasir Little at 12 to the Charlotte Hornets.
Like you said, man, it
makes
so much sense. And this kid is going to be because and look, you might end up with. I mean, I don't want to call him a bum. You might end up with a player that's less successful than we think he's going to be. Okay,
right.
But the upside. Taking him, and it's got nothing to do with it being in the state of North Carolina. I certainly don't think that hurts for fan excitement because you're going to alienate some fans too with that pick. But, let's be honest. The Charlotte fan base is not a rabid group right now anyway. I love the upside of taking a guy with his size and his athletic ability. Nasir Little, I mean, you just think about the differences in the way that college basketball and the NBA are played. He was an NBA player the day he was born.
He's going to have more space. That was the problem at Carolina. Roy likes to play the bigs, and so he always had a big man in there. There was no space in the middle for him. In the NBA, he's going to have space. Man. Those lanes are going to open up for him.
It's built for him.
In looking at this one on NBA.com, some of the names that go right before Nasir Little, Jackson Hayes, the big man from Texas, I think he averaged as a junior in high school, he was averaging like 2 points a game. And then he had a big AAU tournament, blocked Zion Williamson a few times, had a good year at Texas, but if I'm going to spend a lottery pick on a guy, I want a little bit of a bigger sample size. You mentioned Sekou Doumbouya,
right.
Going to Atlanta at 10, Bol, the big man, he spent a year at Oregon, Manute Bol's son. None of those guys, if you ask me, I wouldn't take any of those. And right after him, you get Brandon Clark, who had a good combine, another Gonzaga player, and P.J. Washington at 14. I don't know that I wouldn't take Nasir Little over all of those guys that are sitting right there around where the Hornets would be picking. So if they land him, like I said, double thumbs up in my opinion.
I mean,
that's a huge.
The only reason he's falling at all is because he didn't. What did he average? About nine points a game.
Yeah.
I mean, but we've talked about that, and I mean, basketball, the offense you run in college matters. The games are short. I mean, you look at him. He's got NBA like tattooed on his face.
Look, if you get Nasir Little at 12, right? If that kid had come back to school this year and played another year at North Carolina, he came in behind Cam Johnson. Kobe White was there, who kind of blew up bigger than anybody was really expecting. Right. You had Luke May there. You had an established group of players already there. If he would have come back next year, he would have been the focal point of the offense. He probably would have averaged 18 or 19 a game next year. And I promise you're not getting him at 12 next year. That is a steal. That is a steal.
I would take him before I took Kobe.
Okay.
I would. Because I think, I'm projecting.
Yeah.
I'm projecting what these guys are going to look like in 5 years. And if you're a GM in the NBA, that best be what you're doing too. Mm-hmm. Because it's not football, all right? You're not going to win now with any of these guys, right? Going from a 40-game season to an 82-game season. You're not going to win now with any of these guys. No. So there is no win now mentality about the draft in the NBA. You better be setting yourself up for player development and his potential.
He's off the charts, man.
I mean, and I would say, I don't know, write this down in the Book of Promise. I think there's a chance he ends up being better than Zion because I think Zion's way closer to his ceiling right now than Nasir Little is. Am I saying I would take him before Zion? No. No, I'm not. But I think long term, he might have the highest ceiling of anybody that I'm seeing in this first round.
I just think if you want to project Little out, like you could find comparisons. Like you could say, okay, I could see him turning into X. I just think with Zion, like I don't think there is an X. Like he's going to be the X.
Yes.
Like there's nobody who does what he does as big as he is to compare him to. That is a take, my man. That is a take.
I mean, I'm sure we'll be off the air well before anybody can prove me wrong about that.
Maybe, or maybe we'll be in a different platform in an actual studio. Who knows? As Charlie,
we keep getting mail from Louisiana.
Hey, as Charlie in Louisiana pointed out,
what was the name of the town again?
Slidell, Louisiana. Slidell. You know who was from Slidell?
I do not.
Chris Duhon.
I don't know who that
Duke point
is.
guard from the early 2000s.
Okay.
I don't know why I know that, but
there's a lot of things that you shouldn't.
But as Charlie pointed out, my Blazers pick is not going to work out at all.
No.
They are currently down 3-0 to the Warriors. The Raptors survived one last night. Somehow they blew a lead, I think 4 or 5 point lead twice in the last minute or so of regulation. Survived the double overtime. So, BG, give me some quick thoughts on some of the
I just think I wanted to bring up the thing I got laughed at on the show last week for bringing it up when I asked, do you think the Warriors are better off without KD?
Who laughed at you?
Both of you.
Did we? I don't remember.
It wasn't really so much laughter as you just kind of pointed out. Of course, they're going to be affected by KD. Well, they were affected. I mean,
I think they're different without
they're
KD.
A better basketball team. They're a better basketball team. They lost 4 games in the playoffs with him on the court. They're 5-0 without him.
Well, look, I think I saw the stat come up the other day. Something like when Steph Curry plays and Kevin Durant doesn't, they're like 28-1 or something like that. I mean,
another interesting stat for you. Just off the top of my head, I paid attention as the season went and kept track of this. What do you think the Bucks' record coming off a loss this year was?
What did they lose? 22 times? What were they? 16-22? I'd say they probably only lost back-to-back games once.
They were 22-1 coming off a loss. I think you're pretty much right there. And you could tell that thing was going bad in Game 1 when Kyle Lowry scored. What did he score? 89 points, and they still lost. And I'm like, okay,
if you can't win when you get that from
when Kyle Lowry shows up and goes off, and
on top of that, Antetokounmpo did not have a great game.
Didn't score in the fourth quarter,
right. And you still lost.
Yeah,
not winning the series. Now, I said they stole one last night. They were coming back home. You got to figure, look, pride's going to kick in. Kawhi Leonard played 50-something minutes last night. He's basically just willing them to win at this point. I took the Blazers, trying to be a little different, trying to think outside the box.
Damian Lillard has more turnovers than points.
Yeah, man. I think I outthought the room on that one a little bit. He's banged up with the rib injuries coming out now. But my Bucks in 5 prediction, I feel good about that. I feel and that's one that our friend Jonathan last week not laughed, but kind of took him aback a little bit. Bucks in 5 sounds right, man, because Kawhi Leonard is having to do literally everything.
Yeah.
And last night, like I said, double overtime. They got contributions from Gasol. They got contributions from Pascal Siakam.
And again, they got double overtime.
Yeah, they got on, Lowry gave them, 10, 11, 12 or something like that last night. And it still took double overtime.
Yeah, but
they played like 55 minutes.
But I'll say this: that was the blueprint for them to win. I mean, when you look at the score of that game and you think that they played basically another half of basketball, neither one of those teams could shoot last night. And that's the only way that Toronto can win because then Kawhi's point total can keep up with Milwaukee's offense.
Have you seen anything that's going to talk you off your Bucks Warriors prediction from last week?
Oh no,
no. I agree. Me neither. It's going to happen.
I haven't seen anything that's going to talk me off my Warriors prediction from 3 years ago. I mean,
you don't think Milwaukee could give them a run?
I think they'll keep it interesting, but
Milwaukee has the best record in the league.
Not against the same schedule. I'm just saying, Golden State's ball movement on offense And the thing that no one ever talks about, their defense is stupid.
Oh, when they want to lock in on defense,
it is just unreal
over.
what they can do on the defensive side of the ball. And
see, I thought Denver was pretty good defensively. When you go back and look at what Lillard and C.J. McCollum did to them late in that series,
right?
And then what they've done so far through the first 3 games in this series, it's day and night.
I mean, this sounds stupid, but I just don't think there is a way to defend Golden State when they're on offense. I mean, like
now they've got to be. It seems like they've got to be off just a little bit.
They do.
Yeah.
Somebody at least one guy has to not show up, and it feels like Steph has off nights and on nights. Man, Klay Thompson always shows up. He's just automatic. 40%. And they're gonna shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot.
I said I think
they can contain Giannis. I mean, I know it sounds stupid. We're talking about that already, but I think we both. I mean, everybody knows that's what's going to happen.
We're headed. I wouldn't say that they're a better team without KD. I think they're different. I think they've kind of reverted back to what they were.
Well, I think
when they started this run.
From a non-basketball standpoint, I think KD had a negative effect on some of the personalities on that team. We don't have to play that hard tonight. You don't want Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala and whatever other Hall of Famers they've got lying in wait there. You don't want those. No, I didn't mean to suggest that Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer.
He probably will be.
Well, you never can tell.
Jonas Jerebko.
But just you don't want those guys showing up angry and motivated, and then man, are they?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it just. But it was funny the other night because you thought, okay,
did you see?
They're going to get one. They're going to get one from Golden. Nah, we're just playing around to the fourth quarter, boys, and then we are going to put the beat down on you.
When they couldn't steal game 2, when they were up, whatever it was, like 18 at halftime, and by the end of 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, Golden State had already tied it.
Then in game 3, they were leading going into the fourth quarter, I think, weren't they? Or it was really close, but they had been up. And then you just
ran out of gas. Man.
Well, you also see Golden State just basically decide, like, hey, you know what? You're not going to score anymore.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah. Oh, well. So, I think we're definitely headed to Warriors-Bucks in a couple weeks for the NBA Finals. Next week is Memorial Day, of course. We usually are on Monday. So next week we will not have a show or not have an episode for you. But at some point next week, BG and I wanted to take the last few minutes of this show and let you know that we will be coming out sporadically. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
I think that's the right word.
Sporadically from time to time with just some, random thoughts, some random takes. Maybe too long for Twitter or Facebook, but we're going to be calling it Quick Takes with ... BG, TanMan, whatever.
We both think we could think of a better name than that, so help us out.
Well, I was going to say, if you've got a better suggestion for a name than that, I think you said what? You didn't want to outthink the room or reinvent the wheel.
You're trying to get too cute.
But anyway,
because that's what they are.
What?
They're quick takes.
They're quick takes. Yeah. They're quick, like I said. Stuff that
we're thinking we might get outside the box a little bit. I mean, sometimes TanMan and I actually are interested in what's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs on a random October. But we're not going to talk about it on the show very much.
Well,
that'll give us the platform to do that.
And sometimes things happen in the sports world that demand a somewhat immediate response, and we may not be on the air for another 4 or 5 days.
These will all be sports takes, my friend. Don't go off the deep end and start sharing your outlandish theories about how the moon is really flat or whatever. I don't. No one wants to hear.
Didn't you just say we're going to go outside the box a little?
A little. A little.
You just said we're going to go outside the box on occasion.
You are not to tweet to do quick takes on non-sports topics, please.
I feel like you're constraining me.
I am absolutely constraining you.
But that's sometimes things happen that require a more immediate response. So
that's true too. Yeah.
Hopefully this will fill that void, and we won't have to wait a week or a week and a half sometimes to talk about some things. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. They'll pop up. You'll be able to listen.
If it's after a big win, though, at least finish chewing up your victory chocolate before you do the broadcast.
Oh, man. But you'll be able to listen to those the same way you listen to the show. And again, you can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. We're going to start doing a better job of reading some of those each week. And however you listen to the show, subscribe to it, like it, leave us a review. Again, BG and the TanMan. No show next week. Happy early Memorial Day. We're out of here.
What's the name of that town?
Slidell.
Never heard of it.
I wonder if they have any like flat Earth people there.